Hi everyone, it's Roger here from What's On at DisneyPlus.com. It's time for our weekly live Q&A. So we are here live on YouTube, and we are also just really on in the other. I've just got the YouTube going in the background. But yeah, so big thank you to everyone for joining in live this week. So we do this every single week, and I get your questions that are from our Patreon and our YouTube channel members. You can also send in the super chat function as well, and all of this helps support the channel. Your support really means that we can sort of, make sure we're doing all the podcasts, all the videos and stuff, and not being completely reliant on ad revenue, which obviously is going for a bit of an issue. But just want to say a big thank you. Yeah, we got lots and lots of questions. So if you can hear me, let me know. I see we've got Caleb, we've got Dan, we've got Bubba Trolling, we've got Tom in here as well. So feel free to put in your questions. Now I will say, might be a little bit shorter today because a little bit under the weather, so I don't know how long my voice is going to hold out. I feel fine at the minute, but let's find out about half an hour or so. Got a poll going up on the chat right now where I'm asking you, really kind of in relation to our top topic, which is why do you think there's a lack of new and classic content on Disney Plus right now? Well, the options were trying to save money, waiting to sort Hulu, a reorganization, or a combination of them all. I know which one I'm going for, but there wasn't enough to put in anymore. Right. So let's start off with the top question, which is where we always like to start. So Mahmoud asks, do you think the lack of titles on April is due to the reorganization or something else? Now, I put that poll in as well, because obviously when the new list came out earlier this week for what's coming up on Disney Plus in the US in April was really lacking. There wasn't a lot on there. There was a couple of originals. So we're getting Peter Pan and Wendy, and we're getting Reservations. We're getting Matilda's, an Australian football documentary, and we're getting Mandalorian episodes. So we're getting a few things through the month, and they're fine. And also we're getting the crossover. So I think generally, like, the originals aren't really too much of a problem. It would be nice to have something else as well, but not dreadful. Also, what we're getting is a load of National Geographic content, like Secrets of the Elephants, which is being shared between Hulu and National Geographic, which we're going to see more of, and also Disney Channel shows. Now, on a face of it, that looks great, but there's literally no library content. There is nothing really and there's nothing from general entertainment. There's no films. It's just really bare bones. It kind of, in some ways, reminds me back of, almost like 2 years ago, where we're in the drought. There just didn't seem to be a huge amount of stuff there, which is a shame. I talked about it a little bit on the podcast yesterday. I think that, there are a number of reasons for this. So I'm going to kind of go through. So first off, the reorganization is the one that Mama brought up. So if you're not aware, Disney has, they brought back Bob Iger back during the Elton John concert. He got brought back in. He's now in charge of Disney again. And one of the things he did was he undid what Bob Chapek did, where he created the digital media and entertainment division, which kind of Disney Plus was under, and they were in charge of how everything got released. So what's Bob Iger's done? Reorganized it. There's now Disney Entertainment, ESPN, and Parks and merchandise and stuff. So the entertainment section is now each individual division is responsible for their own stuff, of their own success, and their own failures. A little bit more. So everything's now being pushed back to each individual one. So what we're seeing is some of the studios and stuff. I feel like essentially most decisions got kind of put on hold while they work out what they're doing. Each studio's now, we're seeing different wings. We're seeing like a lot of next day stuff happening now with National Geographic and the Disney Channel, and we're just seeing a lot of changes. So I think that is very much an issue. I also think they're trying to save money. Obviously, Disney Plus has been losing a lot of money. Losing billions, and they need to sort of stop that. And I think the problem is we're now, like 4 months on really from when Chapek left, but the implications of what he was doing before he left are hitting us now. Some of the things that they brought in, if he started reducing the amount of content that was coming in, that would eventually kick in at some point. If he stopped, and I think this did happen, them bringing in classic content and licensing stuff and all the rest of it, that all seems to have just kind of come to a halt, and that could have been decisions from months ago. The idea of restoring anything, any classic content. We recently got Doogie Howser MD, things like that might have been like stopped because they were trying to save money, and that might continue onwards. I personally think like going into the library and kind of bringing back some films and some TV series from the past could really help them boost up Disney Plus in without spending as much money as they are on new content. But unfortunately, new content is what brings eyeballs to the screen. We already know they're going to be slowing down on Marvel and Star Wars and other content. So it's kind of all of this. And there's also the big issue as well of Hulu, because obviously next year we know that they can buy out the 33% stake of Comcast. Bob Iger has said that they're likely to put it up for sale. And we're really seeing that Disney Plus in the US is really not really benefiting from a huge amount of content coming from Hulu over onto Disney Plus. We're seeing very little, and there's stuff going to Disney Plus from Disney Plus to Hulu, but very little coming back. Now, I think there's a few reasons for this, obviously contracts, but I also feel like it's like, and I've said this before, if you're trying to sell your car or you're trying to sell your house or something like that, what do you go in and do? You do it up, you buff out all the problems, you try and make it look as attractive as possible to a buyer. So I think that's what Disney are doing. They're kind of carrying on with full steam ahead to make sure that it looks like Hulu is worth selling, or more importantly, someone to buy it. But also what they don't want to do is they don't want to be pulling stuff off there, cycling off the Disney Plus, and then Comcast then hit them with like maybe a suit down the line saying, you guys, you broke some. There's probably a lot of legal mumbo jumbo going on. That definitely kind of I think is going on. So definitely think it's a combination. But let me know in the comments what you think. So let's see. So Caleb said, based on the poll question in the chat, I would say it's a combination of all factors since their reorganization from the DMED to Disney Entertainment, as well as figuring out what options are on the table with Hulu. Kenneth said, what I'd do with Hulu for the short term is pivot to live TV fast, then slowly wean off live TV and move more into fast. What's interesting was Hulu paved the way for fast services we have today. I feel like with the live TV, it feels like that's an area of streaming that's just going to get worse as it goes on, because less and less people are winning. Like $80-$90 a month for like live television seems really expensive. I do think there is a thing that they could do with Hulu of turning it into a fast service, because what they could do as well, they could launch that globally and then really kind of ramp up Hulu as their free service, and basically a bit like how Pluto and Paramount Plus work, where Pluto is the free version, and they could do that one there. I think generally they are probably going to be looking more likely to get rid of it. Dan says, do you have any word on which way the sale of Hulu will go? Disney selling or Comcasting? No, it's all over the place. We're all just guessing at the minute. Both sides, as Kelly says, are not going to reveal their cards. They are both trying to negotiate for what they're doing. Tim says, personally, I think the delay of Marvel and Star Wars content this year is inevitable since they revealed their 0 release dates for TV shows. I also feel like in some way, I think Disney is probably right in not giving us dates too far in advance, because they have a tendency to change them. I wouldn't release a date until you've got it locked and loaded and it's going to hit. It's better to, in some ways, leave that till much nearer the time. You can give a ballpark figure, but I feel like they've learned their lessons of giving people dates and moving them around is not good. Babatronic says, what will happen if people don't like the streaming services merging? They got two choices: like it or unsubscribe. That's the two options. Matt says, I think they should share some content between Hulu and Disney more. I think they really need to shift a few things over from Hulu to start sort of opening up a little bit, because we had that like wave of A&E content, and that just seemed to just slowing to stop. We had all those ESPN stuff, and now that stopped. And I think we're not likely to see any more ESPN content on Disney Plus at all now that it's a separate company, and I think we're going to see that. I wouldn't be at all surprised if that starts getting removed at some point. Tom says, do you think Disney will try and get back the Hulk and Nemo rights when they buy or sell Hulu? I mean, I'd try to go for it. Personally, I'm not too bothered about that. They're more likely going to want to get the East Coast theme park rights for Marvel and maybe The Simpsons back. Matt says, I think if they sell or buy Hulu, the earliest we'll see it is in 2025. Might be. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be difficult. There's going to be a lot of contracts. There's going to be a lot of contract. Kenneth, I mentioned your article to someone on Twitter the other day to set real expectations regarding the Marvel release dates. Yeah, I think it's kind of weird because there was a lot of stuff this week where Disney went in and changed all of the dates to coming soon, and people were like, "Oh, they've delayed." It's like, well, not really. They've just the dates weren't happening, so they just changed everything to coming soon. But yeah, I think realistically, I think Loki and Secret Invasion we know we're going to get this year. Ironheart might slide into the end of the year, but it depends on these like writer strikes as well and all the rest of it. Ricardo says, I think Disney is looking at ways to gain money and the same time keeping their IP. With movies returning to digital stores, some shows being available on Peacock, and making a deal with a DVD company. I mean, I feel like in some way they've kind of gone back a little bit because it's like going all in on Disney Plus was great, but they were like neglecting. I mean, I view like DVD and Blu-rays now as they are a lot smaller than they used to be, but there's always going to be a market for film fans that will want to have a physical collection. So as long as there's devices to do it, eventually it might end up becoming a bit like vinyl and stuff, where there's special box sets and stuff, and they can do limited runs, and it's a niche product. I think that's going to happen as more and more people lose devices. Because I mean, I was in the supermarket the other day and I noticed they had a big display full of Disney 100 for Disney 100 with a load of Disney movies and stuff in there, and it was like, and then I looked at like the DVD section was like this big, and it's like, man, it used to be in a supermarket and it was 2 aisles, and now it's barely even. And it also shows you the last time I looked at the DVD section. Let's see. So Suna says, do you think Hulu will be a fast service like Pluto TV? I think there's a possibility. If they have to keep it, that will be a way of them kind of moving forward with it. BK Dan says, do you think one of the producers was being fired off of Acolyte after 2 weeks and suing will put hurt and slow down on releases? I don't think it's got anything to do with that. I think it was just there must have been an issue there with her that they didn't like. They'll pay out. They'll probably end up paying, and just it'll go away. Ricardo said it's supposed to be that the Hulk rights revert back to Marvel themselves this year. We'll have to wait. I've been hearing this kind of it's reverting back probably for the last 10 years, so I don't know when that is. Tom says, I heard that Disney were now going to spend more time in post-production with TV and film, particularly with Marvel. I think Marvel really did need. I think some of the VFX and stuff, we've really seen it with like Ant-Man and the Wasp and with She-Hulk. There's a big push here, so I think they've got to kind of get that sorted. Hello, Knox Wave. Kayla said, I remember one of my friends was happy that Disney is re-emphasizing physical media since limited edition collections are worth it. There was a little bit of an odd thing because I did have a look at a few like social media and like some forums and like Reddits and stuff with because I like to try and see what's going on with them. And there was this kind of thing. Oh, it's like, yeah, they're never gonna go back to what it was. They might put more emphasis. They're gonna be putting more emphasis on digital. I think digital is where they're looking to go first. I think just releasing stuff on Blu-ray and DVD, it's additional money. And I feel like you take a movie, let's say Peter Pan and Wendy, if they put that out in cinemas, made a couple $100 million on it, then put it out on digital, make a bit more on it, put it out on DVD, put it out to rent, put it out to buy, also sell it to like different networks and stuff, and also have it on Disney Plus. They are generating money in all which ways. Matt says, I heard Echo is coming out in the fall. Well, Echo was on the official list of originally it was coming out in summer. I think it was originally scheduled for summer at San Diego Comic-Con. Then they removed that to now just coming soon. Echo was listed on the D23 article like in December, but since then there's now been it's kind of disappeared a little bit. Right. Caleb said he also mentioned obviously Disney isn't going to back to VHS like they used to, but limited edition Blu-ray is cool. Yeah, I mean I haven't really I haven't brought a Blu-ray since Rise of Skywalker. I just haven't really seen the need to do it. Knoxway said the upper kind of Tiana show has been delayed to next year. I think they weren't ready for it yet. I thought it was next year anyway. I think that because they've removed it from the official website. Hopefully we find out a little bit more about this maybe at the Annecy Festival in June. So that'll be kind of interesting to see what goes on there. Right. Okay, let's go into some of the questions that we got in advance first. I just realized I was doing all the live ones. Tim says, when will Disney Plus Australia get Bob's Burger crossover episode with The Simpsons and Family Guy? It depends on how these Bob's episodes are dropping, because obviously if it's whatever episode it is, it will then just line when it is. I know with Australia and stuff, the release dates are a little bit funny, and also with some of these, I find with Bob's Burgers and Family Guy, the seasons don't match up to what they'll say, like season 18, but there's not season. It's like really weird. Daniel said, and then we got this question twice. So Daniel said, I saw a rumor online that Avatar 3 releases and finishes its theatrical run. A 9-hour cut of the movie will stream as a limited series on Disney Plus. What do you think about this? Babak also asked a similar question. I'm actually going to do a video on this tomorrow. Avatar 3, there's been a lot of rumors. So this is coming, I think, from the Hot Mic podcast, that they want to make a 9-hour cut and then they'll cut down the movie from there. This, and there's also kind of I think James Cameron has said before that he was doing there was a 9-hour cut. There's a couple of things that I have a problem with this one. First off, the cost. The idea of doing a full visual effects version, 9-hour version, that's like an unedited cut, is going to cost them millions. The computer power needed to do that, the amount of visual effects. We're talking about Marvel, where they haven't got enough, visual effects to do some of these special. You want to make a 9-hour movie, it's going to cost them a fortune. So that's one problem with it. Another one is James Cameron has said that it might take about 5 years to do a Disney Plus series because it will take the technology and the costs. He is also a lover of cinema. He is not going to want to undercut Avatar 3. So if there's reports of a extended edition or something like that later down the line, he's probably not going to want to do that one. I think, making 9 episodes, okay, they're doing it with Australia. They've kind of found some extra footage and turned that into a new series. Avatar's just too expensive for this. I really don't think. Maybe they could do an extended one with maybe 6 episodes. I just can't see him doing 9 hours. The cost of that would be insane. Plus, also, if he does that, they could overexpose Avatar, so then it impacts 4 and 5 cinema release. They've got to be careful that they don't overcook it. So it's a very tricky one. I'd love to know your thoughts. Let me know in the comments about Avatar, what you think. Mammoth said, if Disney sells Hulu and have Disney Plus in the US be like in our other international countries, what would happen to Star Plus? Will they merge it with Disney Plus or just keep them separate in Latin America? So this one's a tricky one. I have no insight, no idea what's going on down there. Personally, to me, it makes much more sense for them to have Disney Plus as the entertainment side and ESPN Plus as the sports side. Now they've sorted out some of the issues. It would make more sense that ESPN is its own separate division now. They're taking over the responsibility of all the international markets. I'd imagine this is what's going to eventually happen. Because ESPN, if they want to sell it, they're going to need to split it. Tim says Snow White and the Huntsman is on 9 Go in Australia on Friday, 24th of March, as Disney signed a deal to share movies between 7 Network and the 9 Network. Don't know specifically on your networks, but I know here in the UK, 20th Century and Disney movies appear on all kinds of networks: BBC, ITV, Channel 4, Channel 5. They're probably just leasing it, and it makes sense. No reason not to. Kelly says, I know sports is under the ESPN banner, but should Disney do more alternative telecasts on Disney Plus with Disney animated characters? Big City Greens was a ton of that. Also did really well in the ratings by the looks of it. That one did very well. Connor says, following the announcement of Comcast wanting to sell parts of Sky, could this be a hint as what they want to do with Hulu? I think it might be more of a case of them just maybe trying to get some money in together, maybe getting rid of some assets that they didn't want when they brought Comcast, because obviously they brought it and then the world hit. So they might be trying to raise revenue and trying to get some stuff to sort out what they want to do. It's very possible. Babek says, with so many people leaving Dancing with the Star, including Tyra, Len, and Cheryl and Mark, do you think the show is in trouble? Should they overhaul it and change it around? I must be honest, when I heard that the way that Tyra Banks, I think I was going to do a video on this as well, was the way that she kind of announced she'd left while like shopping for ice cream for a business and being like she wants to be in the boardroom. Yeah, she really kind of just dropped. It was really weird. It was like it was like Maybe there just wasn't enough viewership on Disney Plus to warrant it. Maybe there is a cancellation of the show coming up, and she's wanting to get out ahead of it. Yeah, because they have committed to season 31, but they could drop it if they feel like it costs too much. It could go. Personally, I'd put it maybe back onto ABC and Hulu and on Disney Plus, and simulcast it, but also maybe move the nights, because I know they had to move it because of football. I don't think they don't have the issue with like tying over with the UK version anymore, because I know I've forgotten his name. Well, the judge, Bruno's not, he's now completely finished the UK version. He's doing the American version only. Maybe they just move it to a different night. But yeah, it's different. I wouldn't be if they said it wasn't returning, I wouldn't be too surprised. It didn't do well. Disney never said anything about the numbers, which is never a good sign. Connor says, now we know that Hulu's Futurama revival is coming in the summer. This would be a good time for first 10 seasons to stream on Disney Plus in the US to get the show hyped. Totally, 100%. Mama says, I know you don't like next day releases on Disney Channel and Net Geo content, but do you think it would be better than having to wait till Wednesday or Friday to release them? And when do you think Disney would change their strategy from releasing batches to weekly releases? Good 2 points there. I'm not a fan of next day on Disney Plus because I think it's unnecessary complication. I feel like if you were to say Secrets of the Elephants is coming out on Earth Day on April the 22nd. Easy. But then you go, well, 2 episodes are coming out on National Geographic on the 21st, and they'll be available the next day and then 2 episodes. And then like Prom Pact is out on Thursday at 8 p.m. Central at this time, and then just have a date, because it's the event. You can have it worldwide. You could also as well, if someone goes on to Disney Plus that day to watch it, it's there. If they turn in at 8 o'clock at night to watch it, it'd be there anyway. I think this whole thing with next day is just a leftover with a contract that they've got with Linear. It's all to do with, I think, previous contracts. As far as this change in strategy, I think it would be better if they did do weekly releases and to tie in with the Disney Channel release schedule. So if there's new episodes of Saturdays and Moon Girl and Kif and stuff, just have them out the next day on Disney Plus. That way, there's new episodes. I know the kids like to binge watch, and that might be what they're trying to do. But it's go one way or the other. Matt says, do you prefer weekly episodes or binge drop of new episodes? Can you put a poll out and ask? Let's do that. So the poll that we got on there at the moment is, why do you think there's a lack of new and content? 43% of you said a combination of them all. 23% said Hulu. 33% to save money, and 2% the reorganization. So most people kind of falling in that one. Let's do a quick poll. So the question was weekly or binge. Let's do that one. Let us know. And binge. You know what? I saw a question earlier and I couldn't. There we go. So just put that question out. So let me know on the results on that one. And Matt says, why do you think there's a lack of movies not coming to Disney Plus in the US? I think they're just trying to save money, or they're holding back, or doing something. There's just something going on. Right. Let's jump into the live questions. So we're going to go for about another 5-10 minutes. Keep getting your questions in. Tom says, will the Doctor Who unit spin-off be on Disney Plus original everywhere, or will it be like BBC One and iPlayer in the UK? Very much in the early stages, so we don't know. I would imagine it's going to be with Disney Plus as well, because I think they'd get more budget. So Suna says, why is Netflix losing 20th Century Studios shows? Because the contracts are ending, and that's why. And Disney are taking them back to be shared. Maybe Netflix, they might have been offered a renewal to share it, and they didn't think it was worth it. But Paramount, a lot of it is just due to their contracts are ending. And it does look like they're teaming up with Peacock a lot more, which could be an indication. Just saying that makes a little bit more sense. Tom says, did you hear that Disney were thinking of buying Doctor Who instead of Star Wars? I hadn't heard of that, but I think they made the right choice. I love Doctor Who, but Doctor Who ain't Star Wars. Ricardo says the cartoon Spider-Man and his friends and Moon Girls are still on the air and really successful. After the Disney XD shows were cancelled, I thought Marvel Studios could only make cartoons. Well, I think the trouble is, I think it's not necessarily that Marvel Studios they can make cartoons; they're in charge of it. But obviously, with Spidey and Moon Girl, they are both aimed at a younger audience, and I would imagine at that point it's much easier to be like that they are not connected to the MCU. They are nothing to do with it. They can be separate, and therefore they have been passed over to like the Disney Channel to do. It makes sense because I think it's a really good idea for Marvel to, and you're doing it with the Young Jedi Adventures. Do Star Wars stuff for pre. I know, like with my nephews, they haven't got into Star Wars because there's not really that same thing that Marvel had. You know, they were loving Spidey and his amazing friends. Ricardo says Warner Brothers Discovery has Prime Video like a second option for streaming around the world. Disney seem to be using the same strategy with Peacock, at least in the US. I think Warner Brothers Discovery is doing that because it's cheaper and they just want to get to a big amount of people as possible. And that's why they're doing it. I mean, they could end up selling it within Amazon, but I think, you know, obviously then Amazon takes a cut. Kelly said, I don't believe the rumor for Avatar. I can see the extended version of Avatar 3 being the Disney but no series. Also, they have copyright issues with the Avatar, the Last Airbender series. I don't know about the copyright issue. It depends on how they name it, I suppose. And if it's not on television, they might be able to get around it. Tom says, if James Cameron was to release a 9-hour version, he would make Disney put it on in cinemas. Yeah, he wouldn't do that. Matt says Tyra Banks is quit Dancing with the Stars. Yep, she's gone. Kelly said, to be fair regarding Dancing with the Stars, Disney owns the US distribution rights. The BBC owns the IP, so they would have to deal with it. Yeah, I mean, I'm Strictly Come Dancing, which is the original version, because Dancing with the Stars is the US version. It is one of the most popular shows here in the UK. It is massive. It is one of the biggest ones there are. So I tend to look at the dancing show probably with a little bit more idea of like of how it is here in the UK, of how it is just massive. So I kind of probably put that onto the US version. I don't think it's quite as successful as it used to be. I think Tom says, I think Dancing with the Stars should be put on Hulu, Disney Plus, and ABC, and anywhere they could ship it just to fans to still have it. I think they made a really bad call in putting Dancing with the Stars only on Disney Plus because it appeals to an older audience and it did not pull them in to, you know, I look at it now, like had that been like around, if they'd done that here in the UK, like, you know, My Late Grand and stuff would have really struggled with all that. Ricardo says Comcast selling parts of Sky to Disney in exchange for Hulu, a possibility. I don't think Disney would want. They're not going to be looking to buy parts of Sky. I don't think they actually. Why would they want a network in Italy? I don't think they'd really want that one. Katie says one thing for certain for Disney is they need to get their schedule in order. I know, dear. Ice Cube releases on Hulu from Sundays to Fridays, but Sundays they miss drop episodes. Yeah, I think they really have, like, the system that they've got in place is all over the place. Knoxwell said, "Are you looking forward to seeing The Little Mermaid?" Yes and no. I want to see it. I've not got a lot of nostalgia for The Little Mermaid. I only saw it maybe like 10 years ago, because my wife liked it. When this movie came out, I was like 10 or 11, and at 10 or 11, I was interested in He-Man, Thundercats, Transformers. The Little Mermaid was not on my radar, and I had a little brother. We didn't watch what I would have referred to at the time the girly films, you know, things like Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, Pocahontas, Mulan. We didn't watch any of them. We didn't, you know, we used to go down to the video shop and rent Disney movies. We would get Robin Hood and Jungle Book. We didn't watch them, and so I don't have that nostalgia for that film in a way that the massive generation did, because I just didn't watch it. So that's why the trailer look. I liked, you know, Halle Berry. Her voice is fantastic. She's great and grownish. So I'm looking forward to watching it. I'm hoping it's actually going to be on the cruise when I'm on one. So that should be fun. So Suna says, will Disney get Netflix Century shows on Disney Plus? Probably not in the US. I think New Girl is already confirmed for Hulu. There's not really that many left on them. At the minute, they're still shoving everything over on the Hulu in the US. And I don't think that will change for a while. Gary said there was a shortage of new content on Disney Plus in Hong Kong. But then a batch of last-minute announcements made over the last week. Disney might be pulling this out again in April, 100%, because they only teased Ed Sheeran a couple hours ago. So there could be something dropping in there. So there's always extra stuff coming. But also that also shows it's not just impacting on the US. The effects of what's happening are global, because if they're not putting out a classic movie that's not available anywhere, nobody's getting it. And I think that's definitely an interesting thing. Matt says I could see Fox buying Hulu. Yeah, I could. I wouldn't be at all surprised by that. And they used to be in the business. They owned a third of it at one point. Bubba says, should Warner Brothers split into two companies and make Discovery and CNN their own companies because the fans want Warner Brothers? I don't think they can do it anymore. I think they've come together and everyone's looking to scale up. I don't know if an actual Comcast and Warner Brothers sale could go through. I don't know if that could happen. Tom says, personally, I don't think Disney should announce any more Marvel or Star Wars shows, and instead, over the next 3 to 4 years, release dates. And yeah, I think the problem was they announced way too much. They have announced way too much in advance. We definitely saw it at the Investors Day nearly 3 years ago. They announced way too much in advance, and they were not ready, and that's come back to bite them. And if they're slowing them down, so if you take, let's say you've got 10 shows in development and you're going to release them over 2.5 years or 3 years, that's a lot. But if you take the same episodes and then spread them out over 5 years, you don't need to be announcing anything for a while. Knoxway says, I honestly think that the Mandalorian season 3 episode would have been a spin-off of the Rangers of the New Republic if only Disney hadn't cancelled it. Well, we don't know if it's cancelled. It's just been and they have said that the storylines from that have been soaked up into the Mandalorian. I enjoyed that episode. I just feel like we probably would have been better had we flipped between Mando and that story a little bit more and jumped around a little bit more. So Sina says, will Disney get Arrested Development on Disney Plus after it leaves Netflix? No, it'll be going to Hulu. It will go to Hulu in the US. It's come to Disney Plus this past week here in the UK. In the US, everything is still the same way it was with Hulu. Nothing is really changing there right now. Matt says, I think National Treasure seriously will be cancelled. Maybe. I mean, it did get on the Nielsen chart a little bit. It's probably a lot cheaper to make than, but I personally, I'd rather have had another season of Willow than another season of National Treasure, because that was just dire. Ricardo says, I hope the Lego Marvel specials come to Disney Plus soon. Yeah, I hope so. They should be leaving Netflix soon. Kelly says, speaking of Hulu, it's funny that they replied to other brands' contents on St. Patrick's Day, like the New York Jets, WWE, heck, even the President of the United States account, when we wish folks are happy. Yeah, they were all over the place. They were kind of doing like loads of stuff from Chicago with like the green water and stuff. I saw loads of whoever's working on the Hulu social media team is very active. I can say that. They're all young and hip and all that kind of stuff. Tom says at SDCC 2022, they announced a total of 7 new shows for 2023, 2 of which were animated. That was still 5 shows in 1 year and 3 to 4 films. It's just too much. 100% agree with you. I said this when they announced it. That was like, that's just too much. There's just that means we would have stuff nearly weekly, and it's just too much. And we saw with Ant-Man and the Wasp, the numbers, people have got burnt out a little bit. And I think by giving everyone a little bit more space, spread it out a little bit more, they appreciate it more. You'll have spend a little bit more time on it, tweaking it. They were just rushing out too much stuff. So Sina said that Arrested Development is already on Hulu, so it'd be nice if they could share it with Disney Plus. 100%. I just don't think they'd make this. I don't think they'd share Arrested Development. I think that's a bit too risky right now. Maybe something I would things like the Goldbergs or something like that would be a lot more better suited. All right, so question here from Kaylee. So this is gonna be the last one because I can feel my throat going. Speaking of Hulu, the showrunner clarified the show wasn't cancelled but delayed in development for season 2. Yeah, I read that message an entirely different way. I read the message of this massive long list of stuff. I took that as along the lines of, well, we've written it, and we could do it in 2 years, we could do it in 5 years, we could do it in 11 years or 15 years. It's not cancelled because we could come back to it. Every cancelled show could be brought back. That's the simple thing. Is any and they've done any reference like some in the past that came back years later. To me, he was just saving face. The show, they've cancelled it, and he was just trying to sugarcoat it and be like, well, we could come back in the future. But yeah, you could do. But every cancelled show could come back if the network just changed its minds. It's just, yeah. So I read that very differently. Knoxway says, "Did you check out to watch Shazam 2? I heard it didn't do well. No, it did really bad. I think it's done worse than Morbius. I will watch it when it arrives on Sky Cinema. I'm not that bothered. DC's it's dead. It's the thing is with Shazam is it's essentially like a cancelled TV show. It's not going anywhere." Robert says, bye. Hope you feel better. It's fun. Yeah, it's been a bit of a not great today. Matt says, I hear Marvel wants to do new characters. What are your thoughts? I think Bob was talking here about I think they realize that some of the characters they've got maybe aren't pulling in enough, and I think they just need to get away from like Iron Man and Captain America 4, and maybe the new characters they've brought in haven't fully done it. I'm thinking more of, he's like looking at, maybe Fantastic Four and X-Men as a way of pushing forward. Right, on that note, guys, thank you so much for all your questions. I'll be back next week with another live Q&A. Thank you for all of your support, and we shall see you guys soon. Laters.